This is something that made me laugh a lot.
Hello, everybody. If you have microphones, you can talk.
Hello, Kathy. How are you?
I'm spectacular, Allison. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks.
Hi, Imran.
How are you?
Spectacular. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you.
And I don't know if Matt Kelly sees my screen or not, but I knew he was going to join us tonight. Are you there, Matt? He's muted.
I was wondering if Matt was going to be on tonight. I needed to get his contact information again.
Yes, he is here. And actually, if he sees the topic that I have here, talking about shadow income and debt collection letters, I knew he'd be here tonight.
Oh, he says he's staying muted for a bit.
Oh, that's all right. I knew he'd be here. I just ordered a pizza, so I actually may have to, in like a few moments, go, hang on just a minute and go answer my door. I literally have been like the local pizza place's best customer since lockdown. So tonight, I do have a time limit on our visit here. And it's going to end precisely at 7:45. I know I normally go all night and all day, but Allison, Matt typed out his contact information.
Oh, okay.
Hi, John. How are you? If you have a microphone, you can talk. Oh, John's not going to talk. He's just going to say hello to me. You don't have a microphone? There's my girl. There's Chi. How are you?
Hi, were you talking to me?
I was talking to you.
Hello, I'm well. How are you?
Spectacular.
Good, good to hear it. I spoke to my attorney today. I'm moving forward with, well, sort of moving forward with the foreclosure in Colorado.
Oh,
Pretty interesting. Yeah, fun times.
I hate foreclosure because it costs a lot of money and I'm cheap.
Yeah, but the borrower covers it. The borrower covers it.
Yeah, theoretically. Because really in the end, like if like our main goal is a workout. So if we get a
Yeah.
workout, you know, we may tack some stuff onto it, but we
Sure.
generally put things on the end, like the tail end.
Yeah, I would normally, my whole thing is always a workout as well. This is kind of a outlier note that I was trying out, my first seller finance note. And it has a balloon. So it's just a balloon note, no interest. So they just didn't pay in May, and it's not a Fannie or Freddie back note. It's on an investment property, so not her primary. So it's not under the protected class of, you know, the CARES Act and all that stuff. So it's an interesting one, but that's the only reason why we were moving forward with the foreclosure. But I don't actually think we're going to foreclose. Hopefully she'll pay us off before the date.
Well, it sucks for her because it's probably because she's not getting paid.
No, this was before COVID even hit. She was this way.
Oh, all right. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Hi, Young Me. Is that how you say that? Young Me?
Yes. Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. How about you?
Spectacular.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I said I'm spectacular.
That's awesome.
Throwing a little Italian in there. Sorry. All right. So again, we have like a really specific time frame here tonight. 7:45 is my end date. Or my end time, I should say. So let's get to it. Who's got the first question? Anybody? Anybody who can talk or wants to go first can go.
What do you think, this is Allison, Kathy, what do you think the impact of these moratoriums going to be next year once they are lifted, and the effect, I should say, on the notes? Because when you're trying to do a workout and they still cannot pay the note, how can you modify the loan? Or, I mean, what do you do with that other than foreclose?
Well, are you talking about from a first or a second? Because from first, you're probably
First.
going to foreclose anyway.
Yes, the first.
Right. So, I mean, you know, 80% of the time you're going to foreclose anyway. So I don't really see much difference between what you're going to do versus, I mean, are you looking for workouts on firsts or?
Yes.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Reperforming, yes.
That's interesting. Usually people are looking for property grabs on firsts. That's an interesting model. Hi, Grace. How are you? Well, once the moratorium is over and you can begin your workout or your sometimes you have to start foreclosure to bring them to the table so you can start that process again. Not everybody has been hurt by COVID, right? So as example, we put out to our borrowers, we had predetermined a forbearance program for our borrowers. And out of all of our borrowers, we only had 2 come to us and ask to participate in the program. So not everybody's been hurt by it. And I think that's the assumption that you're making, that everybody's been hurt by it. And that's a big leap. So I'm not sure that you're going to have much to worry about in terms of, you either get a workout or you're foreclosed. That's kind of your option. Moratoriums are still on, of course, at the moment. So
Do you feel that there will be some sort of, I've been hearing this and I don't know how true it is, that there will be some sort of reset? And when I say that, what I've been hearing, which I don't know how true it is that the reset is going to, in other words, wipe out that debt that they owed, whether it's the previous months or entire, which I can't see that happening at all.
I don't know what you mean by reset. It would define reset, because from my understanding of the moratorium, if somebody didn't make 6 months worth of payments, you can't foreclose, but the 6 months just get tacked on to the end of the loan. So it's not like they're forgiven. So define what you mean by reset.
Well, okay, my understanding was that it would be all due, the forbearance is all due. And if you want it tacked to the end of the loan, you have to actually go through a modification, which means you have to qualify. And if you're not working and don't have that income, then you won't be able to qualify for the modification. And some people are talking about, and this is on YouTube and places, so I don't know how valid it is, that the reset will clear the debt owed, period.
So that's not being legislated, but understand, as the owner of the note, you can do anything that you want. And you don't necessarily have to do a loan modification. You could just do a forbearance. You own the note. You can literally do anything you want. It's not legislated. It's not, the only thing I wouldn't recommend doing is upping the interest rate. But further than that, you can literally do anything you want. You can extend the terms. You can make it 55 years if you want.
Oh, I see Matt replied something here.
Yeah.
Let's see what he said.
He said, she is correct. It is all due at the end of the forbearance unless otherwise modified. Modifications are not mandatory and would be incredibly difficult to mandate. You own the note. You can do whatever you want.
Okay.
That's the beauty of owning notes. You can help people at the same time, help yourself. So, did that answer your question, Miss Allison?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
All right. Did you have anything else?
Not right now. No. No, thank you very much.
All right. Who's next?
Kathy, this is Imran. I just saw a news today that a new moratorium extension was ordered by the White House yesterday until the end of the year for all the eviction. And I was trying to read, the DS News, and I was not really clear if it is for all the tenants or homeowners. Do you have any?
Well, evictions are for tenants.
Okay. So do you know if it is for till end of December for the whole country, or is it specific to someplace?
I haven't read the legislation. My understanding if I were to make a guess, it would be for the entire country since it's a federal, that would be a federal mandate. If
Mm,
it's coming from Trump, it's a federal mandate.
I see.
Anywhere else would be, whatever their jurisdiction is. So his jurisdiction is federal.
Federal, yeah, yeah. And I was trying to read, if it is only, if it has loan from Fannie, Freddie, or FHA type of deal, or for everybody. But
Well, no, I'm certain it's only for Freddie or Fannie Mae because they really can't legislate. Hang on just a moment. In fact, remember I said I ordered a pizza? It's here. I'll be right back.
okay.
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez.
I think Matt responded to your question. If you look on the chat, whoever was
Yeah.
speaking.
Yeah, I see that evictions don't happen in federal court. It is state specific, although they are so far in sync. So the whole country tenants cannot be evicted until December.
Matt, what happened to your working mic?
He said he was staying muted for a little while.
Oh, okay. Cool.
My mic works just fine. I'm just busy typing and working.
Gotcha.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Were you guys talking amongst yourselves, I hope?
Yes.
Kathy, they peer pressured me into unmuting.
Oh, good. So they got you ahead of time. Well, we're only here for 45 minutes today, so
Good.
a very strict timeline today.
Do your thing.
Well, no. Where were you guys? Where did you leave off? I have to find my glasses. Where did I put them? I literally just took them off. Oh, there they are on my head. Okay. Now I have my glasses. I can see what's happening. All right, what were we talking about?
Yeah, we're talking about the eviction moratorium, whether if it is applicable to the properties with loans from federal government, the Fannie, Freddie.
Oh gosh, yes, I'm sorry.
And Matt said it's not in federal court. It's state specific, but I'm still not clear if it is. Because I have property in Arizona that I am evicting and I don't have any loan on the property. And I'm wondering if I am not allowed to evict anymore.
Oh, well, you're a landlord, right? So you already
Yeah.
own the property?
Yeah, and there is
Right.
no loan.
So evictions, that falls just in line with what you're talking about. That is what they're saying. I also found it interesting that the CDC was coming out against evictions till the end of the year. And I was thinking to myself, what does the CDC have to do with landlord-tenant relations?
Well, they said on the news this evening that the reason for that is because of the chances of more people getting COVID if they evict.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure I agree with that, but all right. So, I mean, so Matt is 100% correct in that they don't happen in federal court. They are absolutely, the laws are state specific, and so they do happen in the courts locally. So it is interesting how the executive order on, the moratorium on evictions, how that covers each individual state. I'm not entirely sure, to be quite frank. Again, I'm not a landlord, so stuff like that I don't really look into because I don't really have a lot of interest in that. I mean, the only thing I would say is grab the executive order and then just read it. And, you know, not all executive orders are enforceable either. A lot of times there's legislative objections to them, challenges.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
If I may interrupt, Kathy,
Please.
to sum up a lot of what I think you're saying, in regards to the forbearances and the moratoriums and everything else, a lot of it's kicking the can down the road. Yes, if under various things taking place, if the loan's not modified, which most of the loans are not currently modified, it's kind of all due at the end of the forbearance period. A good example is California to look to in terms of legislation as to what's taking place there, because much of what happens in California ends up happening around the US. There are, of course, some states that really don't change their laws regardless of what happens. They just kind of let things happen naturally. And clearly I'm a big fan of that. But in regards to California, there was a lot of different bills proposed. Just to rattle them off, it started off as AB 2501, and then it came back again after that one failed, the AB 1436, I believe. And at the 11th hour, what came about was AB 3088. And again, that's AB 3088. It's kind of a mush of a lot of the other bills that were proposed and still going forward. It still needs to be signed into law by the governor. So we'll see what ultimately happens and what's changed before then. But like I said, it's a good expectation to briefly explain it. There's a lot of nuances that I'm still reading into. But what's nice, there really isn't a foreclosure moratorium in it. There's not a mandatory forbearance. There's no long-term eviction moratorium on REO properties. But there is, of course, the governor just has been talking about today, and I believe he did extend the foreclosure moratoriums on that. So no comment. It does apply certain protections to non-owner occupied properties, generally as long as they don't have more than 4 units. But it applies to all servicers. There's really no exemptions from it, as there has been in years past, similar to laws passed in 2015. It is effective immediately. And of course, they're referencing it as the Homeowner Small Landlord Relief Stabilization Act of 2020. It does apply to borrowers who's a natural person. They have or a confirmed successor in interest. That's usually in regards to probate, death, divorce, things along those lines, or person of a power of attorney of either of the above. And it does include an entity provided that they are currently occupied by at least one tenant and not a REIT, corporation, or an LLC. Applies to vacant properties if owned by a natural person, confirmed successor in interest, or a power of attorney, so that's important. Does not apply to any property which has surrendered the keys or surrendered the property, basically. It does not apply to loans generated after September 1st, 2020. And there's a whole slew of other provisions, including making it more difficult to evict. And we'll see what happens in regards to foreclosure.
So in regards to eviction, like in Arizona, as Imran was saying, he's got a bunch of units in Arizona, and he's actually in the middle of evicting right now. And again, I haven't read the executive order, so I have no idea what they say. Do you have any comment for Imran?
Arizona doesn't really change their laws ever.
No, but it's coming from the CDC. And
yeah, that's fine. I mean, I got a million stories about this stuff. It's not always the eviction. Sometimes it's the lockout, as in you'll be able to get the eviction order and do everything else, but the sheriffs won't show up to enforce it.
Yeah, that's where we are. We got an eviction order and we just requested sheriff lockout.
Okay, well, at least you know I'm being honest with you.
Mhm.
Sorry, what?
I said,
He
at
said
least
it-
you know I'm being honest.
Yeah. So I guess I'll be stuck at that stage because of this sheriff lockout.
Yeah,
But
that's one of the problems. If they can't pay, you can't, you're not going to be able to get paying tenants in there if you can't get them out.
Yep.
But you don't have a mortgage on it, right?
No mortgage.
Yeah, so it's not the end of the world really for you. It's just the property taxes you'll be out.
Oh yeah. No, it's just problem tenant has not paid for a few months and causing trouble and getting notification and letter from the city because they're parking like disabled vehicle. It's just troublesome.
Right. So maybe this is one of those situations where you might be able to go to court and get them out under not lack of payment terms, but nuisance terms.
Mhm. Yeah. Yep. We'll see.
All right, here's hoping.
Yep.
I'll cross my fingers for you. All right, we got about 20 minutes left. So what do we have? What do we have? Oh, so the reason
You have
I
on the
have,
screen about debt cancellation letters. Go on about
Yes.
that, Kathy.
That's right. That's right. So I actually called Matt this week because we had an interesting thing come up that we hadn't really seen before. And the borrower, we were
Not
giving them,
I've seen it before.
well, you
Talking
had.
about-
When I say we, I mean Pack, not you. I know you've seen it. That's why I called you. I said, that's what I was thinking to myself when Pack first had the drama. I said, I know who probably can figure out this little esoteric problem for us. And sure enough, Matt had the answer. So we called up Matt and we told him the problem. So here's the problem. We have a borrower that we're doing forgiveness on into the UPB, which we almost never do. So that's why this hasn't really ever been an issue. In fact, we almost use this particular item of debt cancellation as a bargaining chip to get a workout. But this borrower, for whatever reason, is demanding that we give him a debt cancellation letter, which is really not good for him because he'll have to pay tax on what we owe him. Or on what he hasn't paid the what we forgave him. So we called Matt, and because between the four of us, we had different thoughts on it. And according to Matt said, number one, why would you want to? But number two, if you do, you want to do it on your UPB only, and you want to make him, pay most of the taxes. So I'm glad you're here tonight so you can expand on what you told me, because after we
I'm not giving financial or legal advice.
that's right. Always give that disclaimer. Nobody here is an attorney. Nobody here is an accountant.
I can ask you some questions.
Well, please do.
Ultimately, in the event money is received, does one primarily pay taxes on the, what do you pay taxes on?
Well, for it depends on how you have things structured, and for us, we have it structured on a profit per note.
Okay, on
basis.
principal or interest?
For us, it's just profit per note. So it's like individual transactions. It's not really for principal and interest. That's not the way our accountant does it. He just does it transactionally. Each note is a transaction. But don't do it the way we do it. Do it the way it's what you're used to. Because the way we do it, I suspect, is a little bit.
So in the
odd.
event somebody pays a certain amount on the loan and the lien is not satisfied in its entirety, but you ended up on a settled amount, what happens to the amount that has not been paid?
Right, and that's the part that we're talking about. That's
So what happens to it?
forgiven amount. Well, in our case, again, on the transactional basis that we do the way we do our finances on these notes, transactionally, nothing happens to us because it's just profit.
I'm not talking about you, just generally what documents are issued.
Oh, well, a lien satisfaction, I would record a lien satisfaction. I personally wouldn't do a debt cancellation letter in the normal course of business.
You're supposed to. 1099-C,
Yeah,
because you charged off the additional amounts that were owed. You reduced your taxable income by charging off said amounts.
right. And maybe we should be doing it, but in the normal course, I don't do it. So that's what
Have
we're
you
here
had
to
a
talk about.
conversation with your accountant as to why you're not reducing your taxable income by issuing a 1099-C?
Yeah, according to him, his answer was an absolute no, that we don't want to do that. So
You're supposed to explain why.
I don't know. I don't deal with the accountant. Al deals with the accountant. I'm not even sure I know his name.
Be good for everyone to look up a 1099-C in regards to note investors and under what circumstance they're supposed to be issued, and if there are really any circumstances where they're not supposed to be issued. It's definitely something that comes into play as especially as debt's charged off. This also comes into play, at least for us, when we modify loans. We defer some of the balance, generally, which is principal, charges, things along those lines. They may be recapitalized as principal and stuck on the back end, and they may be forgivable, in which that forgivable debt, as that deferred principal balance, of course, it's non-interest bearing, as a normal HAMP loan, the debt is forgiven over a period of time, because of course we don't forgive it immediately in case the borrower just never makes a payment again. But again, as that debt is forgiven, a cancellation of debt may be issued, and that cancellation of debt is a 1099-C.
Okay, so is everybody familiar about what the debt cancellation letter is? Hey, Sarab, when you make a comment, do it to change the option up top where it says to all panelists, change it to all panelists and attendees. So John is saying no, could you explain? So the debt cancellation letter is, let's say somebody owed you $100,000 and you agreed that the payoff would be 70,000. So you're forgiving 30,000. So essentially what you'd be doing is a debt cancellation letter for $30,000, which theoretically is unrealized income for the borrower. That they
It's
might
not
have.
theoretical. It's very clearly spelled out in the 1099-C.
Right. Okay. So it's trying to be nice there. So it's unrealized income for the borrower that they have to pay tax on. Does that make sense, John? Okay. All right. We have 12 minutes, so we want to shore up this topic if we can. Do you have any like just final? Well, I don't, if I was the borrower, John Drosba just said, but why are you being asked for one? And you're quite right. If I was the borrower, I would never ask for one, because why would I want to pay tax on that money? But apparently this is a borrower who likes to do everything 100% on the up and up and wants to make sure that he's got all proper tax documents in order. So just never been
Another
asked.
thing to take into consideration, which again, I'm not giving legal or tax advice, as this information is out there to be verified or whatever else you want to say it. We commonly have a discussion, and we'll point out that in the event somebody's filed, let's say, a Chapter 7 bankruptcy in the past, or even a 13, which converted into a 7, they've absolved themselves of their personal liability. Well, a 1099-C may need to be issued by the servicer or the lender in regards to any debt that has been forgiven. The individual receiving that 1099-C may not need to claim it as they have no personal liability regarding the debt. So
Kathy,
that
is-
means that the lender may still get the tax benefits of issuing the 1099-C, but the homeowner, in the event that they have previously filed and absolved themselves of their tax liability, would not receive the tax consequence of that document.
And that actually is pretty cool.
Is that the same as a deficiency judgment in a short sale?
No.
Okay.
A deficiency judgment is in the event, let's say somebody goes to sale, it could be a deficiency, you're correct on that. There are different circumstances in that, especially when it comes to foreclosure law, that is very state specific. And some of them are non-recourse states, may or may not be able to charge that off. And in many states, after a foreclosure, you can't necessarily go after the additional amounts that are owed against them personally. And then again, it's whether or not it's even worth doing. And short sale, years ago, it was the case, it was under one of the Obama things that if they did a short sale, no 1099-C would be issued. But currently, I believe a 1099-C may be issued under those circumstances. Again, please consult a tax attorney
Yes.
or
right.
a tax advisor.
Does the cancellation only apply to the UPB main debt, not arrears? No. No, the cancellation can be on the full amount owed, including the arrears and everything. John is always so polite. He's like, thank you. You are quite welcome, John. Yeah, I just found it to be an interesting topic because I don't know much about it, and because we just have never done it. In fact, our accountant gave us a flat out no, don't do it. And I think it's the way we do our each individual transaction. But I don't know.
Yeah, actually, I was also told about not issuing it. In fact, when we are negotiating with the borrower for a short payoff, because that's preferable than long-term payment, we are giving them a discounted payoff, and one of the enticing factor is that we will not issue a 1099-C, so they're not going to be liable for taxes, but if they can come up with the money, smaller amount, and we'll just consider the whole loan satisfied.
Yeah, we use it as a bargaining chip too, usually.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting topic. And even in the note industry, the whole idea of shadow income is in and of itself a controversial topic. Some people will say one thing, some people will say a different thing. So it remains a controversial topic. Some accountants say yes, some accountants say no. Jack Krupe says no.
Mm. So
By the way, have you kept up with Jack Krupe, Matt?
What about him?
Have you kept up with him? He's out in Puerto Rico, just like everybody else. Everybody's left.
Very few people are out in Puerto Rico.
Well, Lindsay's out there. Joe is out there.
Joe's back in Pennsylvania.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he has kids and wants decent health care, and doesn't want little kids around all the hurricanes.
True enough. Pac was going to do it. Then we found out all four of us had to go move down there. So we decided not to do it.
It's worth it if you pay a couple million in taxes. Otherwise, there's a lot of other, actually, it's worth it in some context, but ultimately you also really want to live in Puerto Rico, which is a lot more than just taxes. And it's a very extended conversation.
Well, I was going to go because one of my dearest friends is from Puerto Rico, and she was going to clue me in, and so I was going to do it. And then I found out we all have to do it, so we're not doing it. But I thought it was interesting. Him and his wife are down there now, and he's actually starting a fund to do what, I don't know. All right, everybody. We can either start a new topic for 5 minutes, or we could kill it here. What do you say? John wants to know if there's a reference for 1099-Cs. I find my best research, John, is done with a quick Google search of 1099-C, which will lead me to one thing, which will lead me to somewhere else, which will lead me to somewhere
If you
else.
jump onto the Google and just Google 1099-C or a 1099-A, it'll lead you to the IRS website, which has instructions and forms and extensive information under what scenarios it's required. The simple version of it, as explained on the IRS website, is file Form 1099-C for each debtor for whom you have canceled $600 or more of a debt amount owed to you if you are an applicable financial entity, which you are, an identifiable event has occurred. The identifiable event would be being wiped out by a senior lien, would be, a short payoff, or one of a number of other things, all of which is very clearly explained on the 1099-C form.
Got it? All right. Everybody have a great rest of the night. Thank you for joining me on this quick one tonight. And I'm sorry I have to buzz out early, but I have a plan for this evening. So I hope to see you all again in 2 weeks.
All right. Thank you. Have a
Oh,
good
Thank
no.
you, Kathy. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.